walking through the house, it was clear that there was a struggle.
Like she was running for her life.
Running.
Who on earth would want to do this to your mom?
The stunning court case that just wrapped up.
She was in the shower stall in the master bathroom. There was water running over her body when the police found her.
He walked right up to Sandy and said, "Sir, your wife is dead."
And he screamed, like screamed.
Who would want to murder such a wonderful person?
The most violent I ever got was I'd grab her and just say, you know, you got to snap out of her.
When you first heard that Leslie Prior had been murdered in her home, what went through your mind?
Who and why?
Whose DNA is this, and why is it in the house? Why is it under her fingernails? Who is this person?
You got to do the right thing, man. You've got to.
I think I am.
The only thing I thought of was, did they have an affair? And then my mom tried to cut it off and he murdered her.
The unknown DNA under her fingernails and the blood on the scene, you can't ignore that. And that really was the crux of the case.
What?
Was that your aha moment?
Chevy Chase, Maryland. It's a really nice, upscale, quiet neighborhood.
It is a family community, well-manicured lawns. It's a beautiful community.
It really made no sense that there would be a crime like this in that area.
The idea that that bubble could be punctured with something so brutal inside of somebody's house shocked people.
The body of Leslie Prior was discovered inside her home on Drummond Avenue.
There were signs of a struggle, but no forced entry.
This woman was strangled and she was beaten.
People were stunned. They were afraid by what had happened to their neighbor.
If I were to describe this case in 3 words, I would call it brutal, intimate, and cruel.
Police are asking residents of this community to be on the alert to report anything suspicious that might lead to an arrest.
I knew someone knew something. So I just never gave up.
Who in the world would want to kill Leslie? She didn't deserve that.
It was a beautiful Wednesday morning in May. Leslie Prior should have left her home and walked down this quiet street in Chevy Chase, Maryland to catch the bus and go to work. But on this day, for some reason, Leslie never showed up.
I'm Brett Reedy, and I was operations manager at Specialties, and Leslie Prior was one of my employees. Leslie was supposed to be at work at 10. When she didn't show up at 10:15, I just assumed she had a doctor's appointment or something held her up in the bus or something like that. Then it was about 10:40, 10:45.
He said, "Darn it, you know, where the hell is Leslie?" Finally, he called her husband.
I said, "Sandy, Leslie's not here. Did she have a doctor's appointment?" And he goes, "No." Very quickly, and he goes, "That's not good. Now something's really wrong." And he was very, very concerned. I said, "Okay, look, she's only a mile and a half down the road. Why don't I just drive down there? I'll meet you there."
So you were born and raised in this area. You grew up here.
Mm-hmm. But I had about probably 6 friends that lived on this street from elementary school. When I said to Sandy, you know, I'm going to go over there, the reason why I went over there was I'm so familiar with the area.
You're thinking, Sandy's on his way. What else is going through your mind?
Something's wrong. She must have been in an accident. Somewhere is an accident. She fell, a bus, a car, something has happened.
Leslie Prior's husband, Carl, who went by Sandy, pulls up to the home not long after Brett arrived. As soon as the 2 men step inside the front door, there are signs something's very wrong.
There was dried blood in the foyer. There was a knocked over table. There was a moved rug. And her husband started calling out for Leslie and got nothing back.
I looked to my right, and there's a significant amount of blood. Sandy started walking around, and he went upstairs. And when he went upstairs, I noticed on the wall was an area that had been rubbed out, looked like someone had cleaned it or tried to clean it. I noticed something move down the hall. That door was slowly opening. I was like, oh no, it was the dog.
At that moment, the Preer's family dog, a black lab named Boomer, comes up from the basement.
I said to Sandy, look, you might want to check the basement. Sandy comes back up from the basement and says she's not there. We went into the kitchen. The back door was ajar a little bit. It wasn't fully closed. I started pointing out to him, Sandy, look at this. Look at this on the wall. Look at this blood all over the place. And he goes, she must have fallen. My reaction probably was, that's a hell of a fall. So I decided to call 911.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm at Drummond, Chevy Chase. I work for a company, and we didn't have a call from an employee. We just walked in the door, our husband and I, and there's blood in the foyer, and it looks like something possibly happened.
You're not in the house anymore, are you?
We're in the house right now. The husband's looking around.
You're with the husband?
I'm with the husband, yes.
When was the last time?
The last time the husband saw her was 7:45 this morning.
Did she have a car or anything?
No, she was going to walk to the bus.
Is there a lot of blood?
But it looks like there's possibly a struggle, a couple things knocked down.
Can I ask you guys to step out of the house?
Sure.
Their house was in Chevy Chase, Maryland.
You might describe it as the Beverly Hills of Washington, D.C. It is a wealthy area. Restaurants, shops, big homes, some very prominent country clubs in the area.
The house is located on a cul-de-sac, so not a lot of traffic. Just a really nice, calm, quiet neighborhood.
It's kind of tucked away. It's like a little haven. It's a place where you would want to raise your family.
How long have you lived here?
40 years.
40 years. The same house on the same block?
Yes.
How did you first meet the Preers?
It was Leslie I first met.
What was your impression of Leslie?
She was really pretty. And her prettiness was also her personality. She was lovely in every way.
Leslie's husband went by Sandy.
He was very thoughtful and very kind. I really liked him.
And they only had one child?
One child, Lauren.
How was life growing up in Maryland with your mom and dad?
They were the best of the best. We had dinner together every night. My dad always cooked breakfast on Saturday, and my mom and I would plant tulips in the front of the house.
Lauren and I met in high school and became inseparable. Her parents were amazing. They were just super sweet, very welcoming, very open.
Who's in this photo?
Well, that's me.
Oh,
I know. So we're talking, and this must have been 1977 when I was born. So we were a happy family, the three of us.
Lauren's father could be described as like the life of the party. Very, very involved in Lauren's life, and they had a really great relationship. He was a really great guy. Lauren's mom was one of a kind. She was just so warm and so sweet. She was gorgeous. I mean, she just had these beautiful eyes. She was like a second mother to me, really. And she was just very caring and loving. And Lauren was definitely the apple of her eye.
On May 2nd in 2001, Lauren Preer is 23 years old, living in her own apartment not far from her parents' home.
Walk us through what happened that morning.
My mom and I talked on the phone every single day, every morning. That was our routine. I called my mom in her office, and her friend Gail was like, oh, she's not in yet, but I was told to tell you that if you called to call your father. And then I knew something was weird.
With signs of a violent struggle and police on the way, the question now is, where is Leslie Preer?
They pulled their guns.
And he screamed, screamed. It was horrifying. It's terrifying. It's haunting.
Okay, so
we got speed and
Interview with Brett Reedy.
All right, so I'm going to play this for you, and then we'll talk after.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm at Drummond, Chevy Chase. It looks like there's possibly a, struggle, a couple things knocked down.
Wow. I'm shaken. My voice is definitely, I'm shaken. That call is haunting.
After Leslie Preer's boss, Brett Reedy, calls 911 on the morning she failed to show for work, he and Leslie's husband, Sandy, do as they were instructed and wait outside for police to arrive.
5-10 minutes went by, and when they showed up, Sandy, he kind of greeted them, and they pulled their guns. And Sandy goes, "Whoa, you guys mean business?" Like, kind of in a joking way. I thought it was a little odd. I think my gut was somebody hurt somebody and tried to clean it up. Sandy's reaction was she must have fallen down. Sandy was somewhat, I believe, in denial of what was probably in front of him.
Brett was of the opinion that something bad had happened and that it wasn't just an accident. If Leslie's hurt and she's going to the hospital, why would it be cleaned up already?
I asked him directly, I said, "Sandy, you were upstairs awfully quick. Did you check everywhere?" And as soon as I said that, he puts his hand to his head and he goes, "Oh, I forgot to check the bathroom."
That's when they ultimately found Leslie. She was in the shower stall in the master bathroom. There was water running over her body when the police found her.
The police came back out, and the policeman was wearing gloves, and he was taking them off, and I knew right then. And he walked right up to Sandy and said, "Sir, your wife is dead."
I remember arriving at that scene at some point later on in that day. It was still a crime scene. Police were still there.
At 11:45 a.m., police found Mrs. Preer dead upstairs. There were signs of a struggle, but no forced entry. In addition, police report no previous problems in this quiet community.
This was an unusual place to be responding to a homicide. This happened in a residential community of very nice homes. It really made no sense that there would be a crime like this in that area.
Leslie and Sandy Preer's daughter, Lauren, only knows that her father wants to speak with her. She has no idea what's happened to her mother.
At this point, it's just Sandy and Leslie residing in the house, right?
Yes, Lauren lived in an apartment in Silver Spring, which is just a few miles away.
I looked out the window and I saw a police car pull up. And I saw my dad and a police officer get out of the car. And I said, "Oh God, what the hell's happening?" My dad is like he was just talking, but everything was in slow motion. He's like, "Lauren, your mom's been in an accident. I think we're seeing like a bus accident, or she got in a car." Like, I wasn't thinking the word that. And then he goes, "She's no longer with us anymore." I was like, "What?" And so I ran into my bedroom and I screamed, like screamed. Like what you hear on like the horror movies, like deep down into your stomach scream. And I said, "I don't understand."
It shook the office. I had to make that phone call.
Brett calls the office. He said, "You're not going to believe this, Linda, but Leslie's dead." And he couldn't tell me anymore because he didn't know anymore. I saw a number of police cars. I saw an ambulance. I was just shocked. Who would want to murder such a wonderful person?
Investigators begin canvassing the neighborhood, searching for answers, and they're looking to see if any similar crimes had occurred in the area.
They looked at any other burglaries in the area, any other assaults that happened, and there wasn't any clear indicator that any other crimes were related.
Nothing like this had ever happened in that area. A murder like this.
Not a murder like this. There were a couple of assaults on women throughout the county, that a lot of people did think were related, but the police department did their due diligence and compared all the cases, and they determined, no, they're not related. At the time, a lot of women were very fearful of what was going on, that there was a killer out there that in their quiet neighborhood had come into this house and killed a woman.
And as detectives start digging into the case, a crucial detail comes into question.
It was hard to pinpoint Leslie's actual time of death. She may have been dead for longer than just the hour or two that we believe she was there.
There was a theory that Leslie could have been killed the night before.
Yes.
So investigators bring Leslie's husband in for questioning. They want to know exactly what the couple had been up to the night before.
Let's just be a man and tell us what happened.
I told you exactly what happened.
But you haven't told us the truth.
It was Wednesday morning, about 10 a.m., when Leslie Jennings Prier's colleagues became concerned she hadn't come to work. At 11:45 a.m., police found Mrs. Prier dead upstairs.
The autopsy has been completed. The cause of death is blunt force trauma.
Beyond that, police are being tight-lipped about what they know. Reporting from Chevy Chase, I'm Brad Bell, ABC 7 News.
Brad Bell, take one.
It was obvious that a struggle had taken place on the first floor. Leslie Prier was choked, and the belief was that her head was slammed into the floor of the foyer of her home.
Was there a question about the time of death and why?
When Leslie's body was put in that shower, the heat, the humidity, and the hot water over her body can change the rates of decomposition. So none of that was ever able to be pinpointed to a direct time of death.
It's literally a horror story. We went back and there was still luminol all over the hallway, blood in the kitchen, all the way up the stairs, through the bedroom. And I stopped at their bed. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go in the bathroom. I couldn't do it.
Walking through the house, it was clear that there was a struggle.
Like she was running for her life.
Running. Who on earth would want to do this to your mom?
I couldn't think of one person.
The neighborhood canvas was really crucial. A lot of the neighbors were pretty observant. One neighbor mentioned that he woke up in the middle of the night and he saw that there were lights all on in the Prier household, and the shades were drawn, but he could tell that all the lights were on, and he thought that was very strange.
Then another neighbor reported to police that something unusual happened that morning when Leslie's husband, Sandy, left for work. He was standing in his doorway, appearing to say goodbye to someone in the house, but then he also made a point to greet that neighbor, something she said he never did. She told detectives it was almost like he wanted her to notice him leave that morning.
You begin to think, does that play into someone trying to cover up, develop a timeline, and things like that? If you're a woman, more than 50% of the time, the person who's responsible for taking your life is your intimate partner. So it's a logical place for any investigator to begin.
Okay, today is May 4th, 2001, and we're talking with Carl Prier.
Leslie's husband is interviewed by police just 2 days after her murder because they're not positive when Leslie was killed. They want to nail down what Sandy was doing the night before Leslie was found dead.
Tuesday, it must have been a regular day. Went to work and got off. I was taking some computer stuff to the dump. Got there before 8 o'clock, took everything off, then left, and I think I went to a couple stores.
After the stop at the dump, Sandy Prier says he went to 3 different stores before finding the battery charger he was looking for. He didn't get home until about 9 p.m. Tuesday night.
All of that was just a little bit suspicious. It seemed like he was trying to create an alibi for himself.
I don't recall anything out of the norm on Tuesday.
Okay. And when you arrived home, you all didn't have supper together after 9?
No, I went right to bed. she stayed up.
Do you have any idea when she came to bed?
Nope. I could guess, but I don't know for a fact.
Okay. You indicated that sometime during the night you recall her being in bed.
Then, Sandy says something that catches the detective's attention. He admits that his marriage had been under tremendous strain. Both he and Leslie were feeling pressure at work. They were struggling to keep up with their bills, and Sandy says that Leslie was drinking.
She pretty much just had a glass of wine as soon as she got in.
Just one?
No.
How many?
Is this important in
Absolutely.
terms? She would have a lot. She would have a lot, and in all honesty, it's one of the reasons why I kind of come home late, because I just really, it was getting hard to deal with. Leslie was an absolute love, beauty, when she didn't drink.
Were these a source of arguments between you two?
Sure. Definitely.
At that point, they started to realize more details are coming out, and it's conflicting with how he originally presented things.
Since we're on the subject, how would she act?
The sign was always the personality. You could tell immediately.
Happy, argumentative?
Not happy. Just chill out, you know, every little mountain out of a molehill on everything.
Just keep
just bam, 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 just keep coming at you, and it wasn't fun.
Sandy tells detectives there was one time when an argument escalated.
The most violent I ever got was I'd grab her and just say, you know, you got to snap out of it.
By grabbing her by her shoulders?
Her shoulders, but I did that one time, and it, you know, really, and you know, she, you know, hit the wall. I'm nothing, you know, smashing or anything. Hit the wall, and she's burst in tears, and I'm thinking, God, what am I doing? So I pretty much controlled myself to where I was not going to go there.
Did either of you ever discuss divorce or separation?
We never seriously discussed it because we loved each other dearly. There were times where I'd say, screw you, I'm divorcing you. To me, that's not a discussion. It's not when we sit down like this and talk about seriously getting a divorce.
After almost 2 hours of questioning, the interview wraps up. But it's clear Sandy Preer has done little to ease the detective's suspicions or eliminate himself as a suspect.
Well, I assume you've been totally candid with us about this, and you're not holding anything back, not holding any information.
Leslie and I had our arguments, and we had some pretty nasty ones at times. But there's nothing that I am consciously thinking now that I'm holding back.
Holding back or not, detectives are determined to get more out of Sandy Preer, and they strap him to a lie detector.
The police think that he killed his wife.
Then, 2 months into the investigation, there's some surprising news. Could there be a new suspect emerging?
Detectives look at a lot of theories. They interviewed a lot of people. They looked at all of the relationships. Whoever this person was, they had never been arrested for anything. Who is this person? What would make someone want to kill Leslie? Detectives did go to follow up with Sandy, and it was ruled death by homicide. His first reaction was, okay, I know where this is going, because usually when there's the death of a married woman, it's the husband is the suspect. He volunteered to take a polygraph test.
Sandy told us he failed the lie detector test. He was very open about it. I thought, well, I wouldn't be.
Is that common for someone who is innocent to fail a polygraph test?
It happens, but I wouldn't say it's common. Polygraphs are tricky. They're not admissible in court.
It's not just police who found Sandy suspicious. There were people who knew the Preers that were asking, could Leslie's husband have killed her? When you first heard that Leslie Preer had been murdered in her home, what went through your mind?
Why? Who and why? And it all unfortunately started coming back to Sandy.
What did the neighbors make of hearing that Sandy had been interviewed? Sandy was considered a suspect.
I was really shocked because at no time did I ever think he was guilty. At no time. But I do know that a number of neighbors felt that he was guilty.
I talked to the police quite often for the next couple weeks.
I'm with Mr. Brett Reedy, reference a death investigation on Drummond Avenue.
They thought he did it. And one of the reasons was that the coroner believed this happened in the early hours, but they couldn't really determine it because it was not an exact science.
On May 24th, just over 3 weeks after his wife's death, Sandy Prieur meets with investigators again.
How you doing?
All right, how about yourself?
Not bad, not bad.
Good.
This time, the conversation takes a different turn.
Answering machine at home. Have you erased that or any of the stuff that was on there for the past few weeks? Is it still there?
You guys, I don't mean to show any disrespect, but I've been cooperating with you since day one, and I think I've answered enough questions.
I don't understand.
My attorney said not to answer any more questions. And again, I don't mean to show any disrespect to you guys at all.
Sandy volunteered to give them whatever they needed. They took his watch to see if there was any blood traces in it. They took his glasses. They took pictures of his hands and his face and tried to see if there were any scratches or anything on his body. And he was totally cooperative with all of that stuff in the beginning. And it got to a point where they had kept interrogating him.
You gotta do the right thing, man. You got to.
I think I am. In fact, I know I am. And I'll just tell you one thing, you've got the wrong guy. I told you everything exactly how it happened. And I don't have anything else to say.
We can prove that you haven't told us the truth, Sandy. We have physical evidence that shows Leslie was dead before 7 o'clock in the morning. And that don't lie. People lie.
Sir, I don't have anything else to say.
That made the detectives even more suspicious of him.
But 2 months later, test results on forensic evidence collected at the scene reveal a clue left behind that doesn't fit with the theory that Sandy Prieur killed his wife, Leslie.
At the crime scene, there was DNA found in blood and under Leslie's fingernails, which was a sign that she tried to fight off her attacker. That DNA was not a match to Leslie Prieur's husband.
Whoever this person that left blood and their DNA on the scene was, they had never been arrested for anything that would have put them in the system.
The police said, we would like to take swabs of all the males in the office to eliminate you all. All right, well, my first thought was they probably want to eliminate me, only because I was there. And I said, fine.
At that point, they were eliminated as suspects. So whose DNA is this and why is it in the house? Why is it under her fingernails? Who is this person?
A little over a year after her mother's murder, Lauren Prieur meets with detectives for an update on the case. What they tell her isn't easy for her to hear.
Well, I know this has got to be rough on you. And it's frustrating for us because my gut feeling is that your dad had something like this. I've just been a cop too many years. I've worked too many cases. It is so bizarre to think that this could be someone else.
Detectives spend the next 2 hours telling Lauren Prieur that they believe her father killed her mother and how they think it unfolded.
My theory on this, as it were, something happened after he got home that night.
Mm-hmm.
They had some sort of a real argument. He was tensed out, stressed out, had a hell of a long day when it got out of control. And what happened, happened. I think your dad just lost.
How is it possible? First thing, you said that you found some evidence of another person being there. But that's like, to me, that's like the most bizarre thing.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is someone else was there when Sandy arrived home late at night. There was some interaction between Sandy and that person, and then that person fled.
If my mom was having an affair, he's not the kind of person that, like, he wasn't like a possessive kind of guy at all. I mean, he would have been fine, but he wouldn't have, like, gone berserk, I can tell you that much. I can't imagine my father, like, I just can't imagine him, like, actually, like, murdering her and staring at her face, like, while she died in his hands. That just totally seems impossible to me.
I knew my dad loved my mom so much. I mean, I had my moment where I questioned, could he really go that far? I'm like, no. My dad loved my mom, adored her. There's no way in hell that my dad looked my mom in the eyes and strangled her. That's impossible.
If Sandy Preer didn't kill his wife, then who did? Detectives need a new strategy, and that unknown blood found at the scene just might give them one.
I knew she was flattered by him. The only thing I thought of was, did they have an affair? I had this, like, perfect world before this all happened. Perfect. I mean, everything was great. I became a different person, and my world changed completely.
In the aftermath of her mother's murder, Lauren Preer is grappling not just with her immense loss, but also the lack of answers as time goes on, with the identity of the killer remaining a mystery.
I'm sure those were very difficult years for you without your mom, without your best friend.
It was almost impossible. But I said, Lauren, someday, somehow, this is going to be resolved.
There weren't any new leads or information coming in. 2010, another group of cold case detectives picked up on it, and they still focused on Sandy quite a bit.
So he was the strongest suspect despite his DNA not being found at the scene.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to find, you know, is there a reason where he could have hired someone to kill her?
Lauren Preer had her own suspicions about a neighbor living in the area. She said he'd made comments about her mother Leslie's good looks and even invited Leslie to walk their dogs together in the neighborhood.
I knew that she was flattered by him. He was very handsome. The only thing I thought of was, did they have an affair? And then my mom tried to cut it off and he murdered her.
You thought it was a neighbor and he had gotten away with it?
Yes, 100%.
She mentioned him numerous times, and in 2010, detectives did speak to that individual and got his DNA, and he was also eliminated.
They swabbed him, and it was negative.
That had to drive you nuts, going right back to zero and not having anyone.
I thought I was gonna die without knowing. I really, truly thought that.
In 2017, Lauren's father, Sandy, passes away after an illness, dying under a cloud of suspicion that never fully cleared.
My mom's family believed he killed her. Not all of them. Some of my uncles and some of my cousins were like, there's no way. And so they were out of touch with him. I mean, I think my dad died of a broken heart.
The case remains cold in the years that follow.
It makes you paranoid in a way to think that there's somebody that could commit this brutal crime and then just be walking free. And the decades just went on, and then you start to kind of wonder, this is never going to be solved.
It bothered us a lot. I mean, every time we would get together, we would talk about it.
For many years after this happened, when we got together around the proverbial water cooler, someone would always come up with one other revelation or one other, oh, maybe this happened, and we just couldn't put it together.
I would check with my sources in the police department periodically. I would say, hey, what was up with that Drummond case? And they never had anything new to tell me. They said it remained a mystery.
Finally, one day on my phone, Tara called.
In 2022, Detective Tara Augustin joins Allison Dupuy in the Montgomery County Police Cold Case Unit, where every box on these shelves represents an unsolved mystery.
Ever since I joined the police department, I think my career goal was to get into the cold case unit because these are all major crimes, and I like the challenge of trying to look at everything with fresh eyes and not take the same viewpoints that the previous investigators had. And when it's successful, it's a huge satisfaction that you're able to do something for the families and give closure.
And her first assignment, the Leslie Preer case.
It was one of many boxes that are sitting on our shelves. And when Tara joined our unit, she just picked right up on it.
I just dug right in, and I dragged her along for the ride.
And she was like, we're calling about your mom, Leslie Preer. And I said, what?
So in 2022, you reach out to Lauren and you tell her, we're on this.
It was very, very emotional for Lauren. She was just so grateful that somebody was looking at this and thinking about her mom again.
Were you concerned at all that you were raising her hopes?
It's always a concern. You want to temper expectations.
We have some ideas of things that we can do now that had never been done before, but it's a very long process, so we had to really urge her to be patient with us.
She's like, Lauren, this is going to take a long time. I said, I understand. No problem. I said, take your time.
What was your initial thought when you looked through the case in 2022?
The main thing was the unknown DNA under her fingernails and the blood on the scene. You can't ignore that, and that really was the crux of the case. We had been using the forensic genetic genealogy to some success at that point, and that was, I think, probably the biggest technological advance in the DNA that we've had in a while.
In forensic genetic genealogy, DNA from the crime scene is compared to DNA that has been entered into public databases, a powerful way to find relatives, close or distant, of the unknown suspect. So DNA from Leslie Preer's fingernails is sent to a private lab. And this genealogy technique didn't exist in 2001.
No.
It wasn't around.
Not even in 2010.
Or do you both have training in genetic genealogy?
We've taken courses for training for that, but we're both kind of beginners at it.
So you've submitted this DNA to see where it matches. What results are you now looking at?
We had some pretty low matches that we were working with at first. Because they were US-based, there was a lot of public information on the family tree, so there were some very high matches that were coming back to outside of the country.
Low matches have less shared DNA with the suspect, making it more difficult to trace back the family line to identify them.
It had been about a year and a half of working on these low matches, and I just wanted to explore these higher matches.
When the detectives finally delve into the overseas matches, they find a person in, of all places, Romania, who shares enough DNA to be a promising lead, suggesting their suspect could be an American with Romanian ancestry.
So this high match, and that's an awesome shared match.
What did you think? This is it.
That was really where we needed to go. This was the one that was overseas. So it was like another level of a challenge, but it was really worth trying because otherwise we were just spinning our wheels and we weren't getting any closer.
So you would make a family tree basically showing any possibility of aunts and uncles, first cousins.
Was that your aha moment?
I remember I said, Allie, come over here and look at this. I think I really have a break. Like, oh, this is serious.
What she finds? A name closer to home than Lauren could have ever expected.
Hands up!
I said, are you sure? And she said, yes, it's him. He almost got away with it.
Honey, your DNA was in the crime scene.
This is one of the crimes, homicides, murders, that I never forgot about.
It was horrifying. It's terrifying. It's haunting.
Only 2 people know what happened that day, he and Leslie can't speak for herself.
Based on all of this evidence, what do you think happened to Leslie that morning when she was killed?
That DNA could have matched to somebody else in that family.
She didn't have any specific evidence to point to he's the killer, but she just got a weird feeling about him.
I ended up leaving that house that night. I did not stay there. I was afraid of him.
She was afraid of something. She thought he might go after her.
Murdered someone?
I want to know what snapped in you.
Hands up! Hands up!
I almost fainted.
What goes through your mind?
I was in shock. I'm still in shock. This is a family photo from my 15th birthday. There's my beautiful mother.
For Lauren Prier, sifting through memories of life before her mother's murder is bittersweet.
It's one of the last trips I went on with my mom.
A family destroyed. Her father, once a suspect, dying without knowing who killed Leslie Prier inside their Maryland home on Drummond Avenue.
When you see photos like these, what memories come rushing back?
They were the best parents, but I miss them so much. We were just such a tight-knit family and loved each other very much.
Today, Drummond Avenue is as idyllic as it was when Leslie Prier lived here, with no hint to the tragedy that took place. And for decades, there were no answers to this murder mystery that rocked this community.
Police are asking residents of this community to be on the alert to report anything suspicious that might lead to an arrest.
I remember clearly. I remember standing in front of that home. It troubled me that this woman's killer hadn't been found. But nearly a quarter century went by before we heard anything more about it.
What made you think you could find the killer?
We knew that there was DNA evidence, and that is huge for cold cases. We can use genealogy to try to identify a suspect.
By 2024, Detectives Augustin and Dupuy have spent a year and a half searching public genetic genealogy databases for any connections to that unknown male DNA found at the crime scene. Their most promising lead, a person in Romania who appears to be a distant relative of the killer.
So just doing basic Google searches, I was able to find out a lot of information. And so I started going through a lot of old historical information about their family line.
Grave sites, obituaries, marriage documents, census records. So it's a little bit of like history detective as well as regular detective work.
And then I came across the name Virgil Gligor, and that kind of clicked in my head because I remembered the name Gligor and I knew it was in the case files.
Gligor. Eugene Gligor is the name in the case file, Lauren Prier's high school boyfriend. The two were high school sweethearts who met at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. They shared a tight-knit group of friends despite their 2-year age difference.
He's a little younger than me, but we just were attracted to each other and started dating.
So what was it about Eugene that
he was
drew you
just
to
he was
him?
extremely attractive. He was very charismatic. He was a ladies' man, like he was, and all the girls loved him, but I got him. So we just became a thing.
What was he like during those years when you were together?
Popular, had a lot of friends.
He was very outgoing, very sharp individual, very witty. He always could carry a conversation, whether it be with our parents or anyone.
Eugene's mom was a consultant for the World Bank and then left that job to raise her boys, and his dad was a tenured professor at the University of Maryland. He had one brother.
He had a pretty, I would say, relaxed, easygoing personality. His parents' house was kind of like the central hangout spot. So, we used to spend a lot of time over there just kind of hanging out, doing what kids do.
Eugene Gligor lived just about a 10-minute walk from the Prier house in an upscale community called Kenwood. known for its luxury homes and cherry blossoms. This trail runs between their two neighborhoods.
All you do is cross the street, walk down the bike path. My parents' house is like 3 houses up. That's it.
The friend group also often spent time at the Prier house.
Lauren's parents, her mom in particular, just welcomed everybody with open arms and made sure that they were fed. So I have a lot of very vivid memories of Eugene and Lauren and I at Lauren's parents' house.
My mom was just open door, totally took him in, and he could come to my parents' house when I wasn't even home yet. She loved him. She adored him. Dinners, barbecues, breakfasts. We went on vacation together with all of us. And so he was, at some point, part of our family.
So here you are. This is the night of prom.
Correct. That's me. That's Eugene. We had a great evening. We had fun. We stayed up all night, and it was a beautiful evening.
How serious was that relationship?
There were couples, and then there was Eugene and Lauren type of couple. They were on like a different level. It was Eugene and Lauren, not just Eugene. It wasn't hang out with Lauren. It was let's go hang out with Eugene and Lauren.
I mean, I loved him back then. I really did. He was gentle with me.
If like we got a scuffle with any guys from like a different school and like there was any kind of altercation, he would be one of the last people you want to have your back.
Not really a fighter?
No, not a fighter at all, you know.
Eugene and Lauren dated throughout high school and then continued dating when Lauren went to college. After 5 years together, they broke up.
And why did you guys break up?
We were so young. We'd been together for too long. We just had a talk, and we both kind of agreed, like...
It's time to go our separate ways.
Yeah.
Did you guys keep in touch after that?
No.
About 2 years after their breakup, Lauren's mother was killed. Fast forward to 2024, when detectives determined that Eugene 𝐄𝐏𝐒 is a first cousin twice removed from the genetic genealogy match in Romania. But for the police, that doesn't necessarily make him the killer.
Why would he do this? There wasn't much to make him a suspicious person. Nothing raised flags to say, hey, this guy's a killer.
But when detectives look back at the case file, something in there catches their eye.
And it just is one of those loose ends that was never tied up.
As detectives look into the history of Eugene 𝐄𝐏𝐒, a particular day stands out to them from over 2 decades ago, Leslie Prier's funeral.
Beautiful day outside, big church. Just the amount of people there, the amount of friends from high school that were there in support for Lauren. It was very well attended.
But not present among the throngs of people, Lauren's long-term ex-boyfriend, Eugene 𝐄𝐏𝐒.
I remember asking Lauren specifically, I was like, where is Eugene? And her saying to me that it was too much for him to handle. And I just remember being so upset, just being, are you kidding me? That's the excuse. That's the most selfish thing I've ever heard. It just rubbed me so wrong. I was like, why the hell is Eugene not here?
The detectives discover a traffic ticket 𝐄𝐏𝐒 had received during that time and find out that a few days after the murder, at the same time as the funeral, he took a long, unplanned road trip to see a friend in Portland, Oregon.
Eugene decided he didn't want to go and instead took a cross-country trip all of a sudden to Portland, Oregon. It made no sense.
As part of their investigation, detectives would later interview Eugene's brother Andre and learn that he and his parents did attend the funeral. Andre also knew the Prier family.
Did you ever meet Lauren's parents, Leslie and Carl?
Yes, yes.
Had you ever been to their house?
Yes. The only times that I went to their house was in the context of pet sitting.
Okay. Do you remember the dog's name?
I do.
See, that's
Yes, yes.
You went to the memorial service?
Yes.
Okay. Did he mention that he was in town or out of town or anything like that?
He didn't mention anything because I didn't talk to him.
We know that he was out of town, and we thought that was a little bit peculiar because, you know, your ex-girlfriend's mother got murdered. That's very serious. I would definitely want to, be there. And obviously you felt compelled to go.
Yes.
So that's one of the main things that we're kind of confused about.
In the case file, detectives see that 9 months after Leslie's murder in January 2002, a tip had come in about Eugene, who had been living with his mother after his parents' divorce.
A lady that lived in the neighborhood where Eugene 𝐄𝐏𝐿𝐃 lived said, I know that he used to date the victim's daughter, and he was getting in trouble in the neighborhood for noise complaints and just nuisance things where the police had come out there. And for some reason, he stuck out to her, and she said, I just want to let you guys know, look at this guy. It was just a hunch.
She didn't have any specific evidence to point to he's the killer, but she just got a weird feeling about him and wanted to call in and give his information.
So this neighbor calls it in, speaks with police. It's documented, but nothing happened.
No. They weren't able to locate him, and it just is one of those, loose ends that was never tied up.
Eugene was not tested, he wasn't asked for his DNA, he wasn't interviewed. It just sort of went away.
They didn't have probable cause that would connect him in any way to the crime. He was an old boyfriend, and there was no indication that there had been animosity between him and the mom.
Another person with a hunch about Eugene at the time, Lauren's father, Sandy.
He never liked him.
He never liked him?
Mm-mm. Even though I was dating him, he thought there was always something off. And then after she was gone, he said, do you think Eugene could be a part of this? I said, no. Like, what are you talking about?
But what remains unclear to investigators? Why would Eugene 𝐄𝐏𝐿𝐃 commit a crime like this? As for 𝐄𝐿𝐃's run-ins with the law, they don't see anything violent enough to suggest he'd be capable of murder.
Eugene did have some police interactions throughout the years. There were a couple of incident reports for thefts or burglaries where he was listed as a suspect, but he was never charged because either there wasn't enough evidence or the families decided not to go forward with anything. At some point, he had been charged with marijuana possession.
And he had 2 other contacts with the criminal justice system, but nothing that would have indicated he would have been involved in a violent crime.
So these findings didn't really paint a picture of a brutal murder.
No.
Not at all.
No.
But then, detectives stumble upon something worrying.
Okay, it was very scary, and I ended up calling the police.
Now, that kind of changes things to where, okay, he might be capable of actually killing someone.
I ended up leaving that house that night. I did not stay there again, because I was afraid of him.
In the summer of 2024, 44-year-old Eugene 𝐄𝐿𝐃 has no idea that his life is under the microscope of detectives Augustin and Dupuy. What was Eugene 𝐄𝐿𝐃 doing with his life?
He had kept jobs and was just kind of living a under-the-radar life.
In the years after high school, he worked in the restaurant industry in New York, at one point as a maitre d' at a Michelin-starred restaurant, then moved back to D.C., working in business development.
He built a life for himself. Married twice, divorced twice.
He would host Super Bowl parties. He joined fantasy football leagues. Eugene's life was completely normal in all the tellings from the people who interacted with him.
I met Eugene 𝐄𝐿𝐃 in the summer of 2018. We both were working at a real estate technology startup. Eugene did business development and sales. He was a very bubbly, friendly, gregarious person, a classic salesperson. Laughing, joking. He was a mentor and I learned a lot from him and I looked up to him and he was my go-to person to ask for advice.
Everyone in his life knew he struggled with alcohol. He was also really open about his journey to become sober and attending AA meetings.
He had internalized a lot of self-help best practices, so to speak. I remember him telling me, having control over your thoughts and being able to see them as they come in and not just impulsively react to them is the first step toward being able to have control over your life.
But Detectives Augustin and Dupuy find something troubling in court records from 2021.
So this is a petition for a protective order, and this was from his second wife after they got divorced.
She describes in here an incident where Eugene came to collect his belongings without telling her. She writes, Eugene is an addict and has 2 guns. His behavior has been erratic and scary for a couple of years, off and on. I am scared to be in my home. He is unpredictable. Eugene repeatedly calls me a whore and yells into my face. He throws objects, punches walls, and I fear for my safety when he has these outbursts. I am seeking protection from this verbal abuse and escalation.
The petition for the protective order was ultimately denied by the court, which said there was no reasonable grounds to believe abuse as defined by the statute occurred. Detectives would later speak to that ex-wife.
He had moved out. He was supposed to let me know and get my approval before coming over, and he just came in. And it was very scary, and I ended up calling the police. And I ended up leaving that house that night. I did not stay there again because I was afraid of him. Yeah. It was probably the only time that I was like, oh my God, like this is really scary.
So she was frightened.
Yeah.
She was afraid of something. She thought he might go after her. What stood out to you the most in this?
It just showed a completely different side of him that hadn't been exposed before. Once I saw that, oh, okay, well, there is a propensity for violence, and now that kind of changes things to where, okay, he might be capable of actually killing someone.
After detectives find that petition for a protective order, signs are pointing in the direction Eugene 𝐃𝐃 is their guy. But they need proof, especially since there are other males in the 𝐃𝐃 line.
His brother did dog sit for them occasionally, so we knew his brother did have access to the house as well.
When you were dog sitting for the Preers, did you have a key to their house?
You know, I don't remember if Leslie gave me a key that I would give her back, or whether the key was hidden somewhere.
That DNA could match to another 𝐃𝐃, could have matched to Eugene's brother, it could have matched to somebody else in that family, and so they needed Eugene's DNA to confirm their suspicions.
We figured, okay, well, if Eugene's DNA doesn't come back a match, then Andre's our next step.
Now the challenge, collecting that DNA without Eugene suspecting.
And we got information that he was actually overseas and that he would be returning to the United States on a certain date, and we had the flight information.
When Eugene 𝐃𝐃 arrived here at Dulles Airport in Virginia from an overseas trip in June of 2024, he may have thought he was just another anonymous traveler passing through. But it turns out investigators were watching and waiting.
They knew he was flying in. They knew he was going to be at Dulles. So he's coming off the plane, and bam, there's some detectives there.
They set up essentially a sting. They arranged for him to be pulled aside by customs for a special screening. They had arranged in the interview room several bottles of water, hoping that as he sat there, he would take one of them and they would have their DNA evidence.
And that is when Eugene unknowingly takes the bait, drinks a bottle of water, and then leaves it there on the table. And after he leaves the room, detectives come in, take that bottle of water, and there they have his DNA.
And then you get the call. And then my world was once again upside down.
Hands up! Hands up! What's going on? What is this about?
Eugene 𝐃𝐃, finally confronted by police.
I'm sure you're wondering what this is all about.
I would really like to know.
Finally, 23 years after the murder of Leslie Preer, there's a DNA match to the crime scene. DNA taken from a water bottle Eugene 𝐃𝐃 drank from and left here at Dulles Airport.
Normally, these things take a lot more time, but the biology lab was great in getting us a quick answer. And so we obtained the sample on a Sunday, and by Friday, we had a report saying that it was a match.
It's a pretty joyful moment to realize you've got your guy.
With Eugene's DNA confirmed, his brother Andre was officially eliminated as a suspect, as was Lauren's father Sandy, who had died still under that cloud of suspicion.
So at this point, we didn't want to alert Lauren and ask her any questions about him because we didn't want anybody to know that he was our suspect yet until we had him into custody. He was actually living in Washington, D.C. at the time. So officers were sitting outside of his apartment waiting to see if they saw him leave so they could arrest him outside. And he came outside to drink coffee and hang out on his stoop.
Hands up! Hands up! What's wrong with you? Hands by your back. Hands by your back. What's going on? What does this have?
So what was his reaction?
He was asking what it was about.
Can you tell me what this is about? Yeah, you have a warrant. For what?
He acted like he had no idea.
You got a warrant, our boss is going to tell you everything about it, okay? That's all. Okay. He'll tell you, he'll give you a copy of it. So you didn't know anything about this warrant?
No.
Okay.
I think he was completely surprised. The police wanted to catch him off guard. I don't think he had any idea they were going to be there.
When did you call Lauren?
So I called her as soon as we knew he was in custody. I said, we have someone under arrest for your mom's murder. It's Eugene 𝐔𝐋𝐋.
And I almost fainted.
What goes through your mind?
I was in shock. I'm still in shock. Total shock. Just what? And then she goes, he's actually under arrest right now.
You have a seat right there.
You can take the cuffs off and just chain his ankle.
Yep.
Hi, Eugene.
Hello.
I am Detective Augustin. This is Detective 𝐄𝐏𝐻𝐒. Hi there. From Montgomery County.
So when we talked to him,
I'm sure you're wondering what this is all about.
I would really like to know. This has been really, really hard.
he was inquisitive at first and answered some questions.
We were working on a case that came from Chevy Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And do you recall back in 2001, Leslie Prier?
Yes, that she was murdered, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that's the case that we are investigating. You went to BCC with her daughter at the time?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, and what was your relationship with Lauren, the daughter?
We had dated.
Like, were you still in touch with Lauren when this stuff happened to her mom?
No, we had broken up a couple years before.
But once confronted with some evidence, he completely changed his attitude.
We actually have a sample of your DNA, and it was compared to the crime scene DNA, and it matched. So we know that you were there at the time when Leslie died.
But I never gave a sample of DNA.
That's correct. We obtained a sample from a discarded water bottle, and it was compared. So your DNA matches the crime scene DNA.
I don't know what to say. I have no recollection. I have no memory. I don't know what to say.
We tried to get any information from him, any explanation of how or why this could have happened. Only two people know what happened that day, you know, he and Leslie can't speak for herself.
We can tell you more about, you know, what we think happened.
I mean, what you think happened, I don't know. I can't verify. I don't know. I don't recall. I don't have any memory. I didn't do anything that you're talking about, so I don't know. And I don't feel like I can... I don't know how to answer and go into... I don't want to try incriminate myself with questions. You guys are professionals. I'm not. I don't know. I really do think I need an attorney.
Okay, that's fine. We're not going to ask you any more questions. There's no tears coming out of your face.
I'm very dry right now.
You're dry?
I'm very dry. I'm parched. I'm dehydrated. You can probably see my eyes are bloodshot red because I'm just tired and drained. I don't know what's going on. You want me to drink water so I can tear?
I don't want you to tear. I just don't want you to.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say that this seems a little put on.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No.
He was putting on a bit of a show, being emotional and just acting like he doesn't understand how this could have happened.
In your eyes, it's guilty until proven innocent. I get it.
Well,
honey, your DNA was in the crime scene. That's why, like...
But I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know.
What we're trying to figure out is how your blood was at the scene that day. Could it have been, you know, an interrupted burglary? Did something happen where you didn't expect anybody to be home?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I don't recall.
He just kept saying, I don't remember, I don't remember, I don't remember.
You keep saying you don't remember and you don't have any recollection.
Well,
but if somebody was not involved, it would be an adamant, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I definitely didn't do it. Like, this is absolutely.
That's why we wanted to talk to you. I don't know why your blood is there also. I don't know.
Wow.
The only person that knows is Leslie, and she can't tell us.
He was very much wanting to be the victim in the situation, and it was very, very clear that we weren't buying it.
I'm trying to give you an opportunity to be a little bit forthcoming before we...
I mean, I feel a little bit trapped here, like...
Well, you're under arrest, so you should feel trapped.
Did you think this moment would come?
Yeah, I had hoped it would. I didn't think it was going to be him. I thought it was a random person. And when you figure out the relationship to the family, it makes it even worse because he betrayed any kind of like loyalty or relationship and trust that he had with the family.
I have been a television reporter for a very long time now, and this is one of the crimes, homicides, murders, that I never forgot about over the years. And so to ultimately hear on that day that they had made the arrest was, even for me, stunning.
This case remained open for 23 years.
Until now. Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy speaking this afternoon, moments after this man, 44-year-old Eugene Gliegor, now charged with first-degree murder.
Like this copacetic Zen person who had been through AA and had all this advice and had taught me a lot, murdered someone?
I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, it just, I think, brings a sense of confusion and betrayal.
When you guys were together, did you ever feel unsafe at all around
Never.
him? At no point. And you were together for a number of years.
Yeah.
But you never felt as though you were in any danger.
Never. Never. Not once.
It was very violent.
It's so not what I ever knew of Eugene.
You take a breath, and then you gear up for helping to prepare for trial. And that's the next step, because we have him in custody, but we have to convince 12 people on a jury that he is the murderer.
Investigators know Eugene Gliegor is not going down without a fight.
He was adamant that he was fighting it and that he was gonna, be out in a few months and everything was gonna be fine.
But even before they get to trial, there's an unexpected twist.
I just could not believe it. I was completely gobsmacked.
With Eugene Gliegor in custody, the state starts preparing its case. This is when they track down the people from his past who were closest to him, starting with his ex-wives.
Okay. He has 2 ex-wives, and both of them kind of reiterated that he was a completely different person when he would drink.
When we met, I had no experience with addiction in my life, and so I didn't recognize what it was. But within about 2 months, I was like, something's wrong. But he was an alcoholic, and he would drink and then pass out. And it was just a mess, and it was really very, very sad.
And that they oftentimes feared for his own safety when he would drink because he would be very reckless.
Was he like a danger to himself, like saying he would harm himself, or just being impulsive, going out, drinking and driving, or what kind of stuff?
Second?
Latter.
Okay.
He definitely started taking 2 different directions, where my crutch was making celery juice and his was hiding a bottle under, kitchen counter while working, kind of thing. But he did a really good job of, I guess, Jekyll and hiding it.
It got to a point with both of them that they ended up getting divorced because of his substance abuse issues.
Detectives then interview Eugene's brother, Andre, who is shocked.
Sure, it's very hard. And we understand
Detectives learned that Andre feared his brother may not only steal from him, but also interfere with his life.
Was there anything else that made you fearful of him? I was concerned or scared that he was going to sort of sabotage my life.
According to detectives, Andre was living in a townhouse owned by their mother. And with Eugene's recent separation in 2021, Andre feared Eugene might do something to get him kicked out.
He was sort of posturing and maneuvering to come after my living situation, that he wanted me to get kicked out of where I live. So that's why I felt threatened by him. And I just had a gut feeling that perhaps he could be dangerous.
Andre would tell police that he was so unsettled about his brother Eugene, he actually reached out to Lauren Prier.
As I reached out to somebody who I thought knew him, his character, not recent character, but from the past, I wanted to sort of confirm or deny my gut. And so that's why I messaged Lauren. I didn't really get an answer.
Do you remember what exactly you wrote to her?
I just basically said, I feel like my brother dislikes me. Some days I'm scared of him. Should I trust my instinct or am I going crazy?
The picture that was painted for us was that he tended to be manipulative in his relationships, according to these people, and he would always try to make himself the victim and at the expense of other people.
In my mind, he would put one persona out there, but behind closed doors, he was a different person.
The case against him, I think, was rock solid. He did this crime. That was not going to ever be the issue. The issue was going to be, is it first-degree, second-degree manslaughter?
Then, with the trial approaching, there's a surprising announcement. 𝐃𝐿GOR agrees to plead guilty to second-degree murder.
Were you both surprised that he pled guilty?
I was. Now he's saying that he's responsible for it and that he's pleading guilty because he is, in fact, guilty.
What was your reaction to that?
Thank God.
You didn't want to go to trial?
No. That would have been hell.
Calling criminal case C-15 Sierra 24870, State of Maryland versus Eugene Theodore 𝐃𝐿GOR.
So are you pleading guilty here today freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you pleading guilty because you do believe that you are guilty of second-degree murder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he look at you?
No, nothing. He didn't look at anybody, but he knew. I know he saw us.
Did he seem remorseful at all?
Nothing. He sat there and just basically stared down.
Based on all of this evidence, what do you think happened to Leslie that morning when she was killed?
I think that Eugene was breaking into the house thinking no one was home, and he encountered Leslie. And knowing that she would recognize him and he would get in trouble, I think that he just panicked and only thought about himself and made a selfish decision to kill Leslie in the heat of the moment just so he could get away.
Knowing your mom so well, what do you think her reaction was when she saw Eugene?
I think she was probably in shock, and I think she was like, Lauren's not here. What's going on? And then I think he got scared because he was in the house and she saw his face and knew exactly who he was. And then he freaked out and she ran for her life. He took her into the shower thinking that the DNA was going to be gone.
But it wasn't.
Not on her fingernails. And then there was blood in the house. It was horrifying. It's terrifying. It's haunting.
Your ex-boyfriend killed your mother.
Yes. Literally. And the fact that it's someone I knew, that I dated, went to prom with, it's insane. And then he almost got away with it. He almost got away with it.
I think the burning question right now that everyone wants to know is why? Like, why did it have to result in murder?
Do you think you'll get answers from him in sentencing?
If he wants to talk.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, make no mistake about it. Today is a day of reckoning for this defendant who for 23 years hid in plain sight.
And just 2 weeks ago, what Eugene 𝐃𝐿GOR had to say in court.
At this time, Mr. 𝐃𝐿GOR, you do have the absolute right to address the court before I sentence you in this matter. If there's anything that you would like to say to the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
Your Honor, yes, I would.
The day has finally come for Eugene Gliegor to be sentenced after pleading guilty to murdering Leslie Prier. But for those who knew her, there are still so many unanswered questions.
I want to know why you were so violent to this woman. What snapped in you?
Many family members are present today here in the courtroom to honor Leslie's memory. They're also here to finally see justice done after 24 years.
Before Gliegor is sentenced, Lauren gets the opportunity to speak directly to him.
Why would you kill my mom? She was the sweetest mom, and she never judged anyone. You're a monster of wolf in sheep's clothing.
All right, well, thank you very much. Mr. Gliegor, if there's anything that you would like to say to the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
Your Honor, I want to express my deepest regret, shame, and remorse for the devastating tragedy that I caused.
And to help back up that remorse, Gliegor's defense submitted a pre-sentencing memorandum that included these photos of him smiling alongside Lauren, saying after their breakup, there was no animosity between them, and he only had positive memories of Leslie Prier.
I'm sorry it's taken me this long to take full responsibility. I'm grateful the time has come. I'm relieved the secret is over. I had many blackouts leading up to the evening of May 1st and the morning of May 2nd, 2001, but none that resulted in the most regretful and devastating event of my life.
Although in court, Gliegor said that most of the day was a blur, a memorandum filed by prosecutors prior to the sentencing quoted a more specific account from Gliegor, saying on May 1st, 2001, Mr. Gliegor remembered drinking both shots and mixed drinks. He stated that he vaguely remembered driving to work and stopping off at the Prier house around 9:30 a.m. on May 2nd, 2001. He recalled a vague memory of going into the house and he and Mrs. Prier having some sort of physical altercation. He does not recall placing her in the shower or trying to clean up the crime scene.
To Lauren and Leslie's family, I'm so sorry for causing you so much misery and hardship.
After Eugene Gliegor's statement, the judge sentenced him to 22 years in prison with 5 years of supervised probation.
Our Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell is joining us now live first tonight, and he's been covering this case since we learned that Leslie Prier's murderer was identified.
Yeah, a lot of emotions at play in the courtroom. The family finally today able to stand around this picture and take a family portrait and say they are thankful for some amazing detective work.
This is a history-making case. I want to thank the family. There's no closure in these cases, but the sentence given by the judge was appropriate.
You heard him speak today. What do you think? John says no remorse.
I think it's the Eugene show in his mind, and I think it's the same thing over and over. I don't believe anything he says.
I can't believe it's over. It's been so long. Almost 25 years. I'm 48 years old. I thought I was going to die without knowing. And it's over. It's over. We did it. Thank God.
We all had these questions of who did it for years, and now we finally have an answer and some kind of idea to allow us to carry on with our lives.
With Gliegor now behind bars, Lauren Prier finally has some answers, but they're answers that came too late for her father, Sandy.
How do you process that, knowing that he passed a few years ago and it was so close to seeing this day?
I have pictures of him in the guest bedroom, and I talked to them, and I said, I wish you had been here. I said, Daddy, thank you for being such a wonderful father, and I'm so sorry that you didn't get to see justice, but you're getting justice.
She seemed like a wonderful, wonderful mom.
She was smart. She was beautiful. She's an incredible human being. Yeah, she was my angel.
We should point out tonight that Eugene Gliegor could be eligible for parole after serving just half of the 22 years. He's already filed a motion asking for the court to reconsider his sentence.
David, as for Lauren Prier, she tells us there are no words to express her gratitude to those two cold case detectives who never gave up on bringing her mother's killer to justice. That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
This is the police body camera video captured on November 13th, 2022, as Moscow, Idaho police responded to a 911 call.
Yep, where's she at? Where's she at?
Yes.
Moscow Police Department, you're in here to announce yourself.
But nothing would prepare police or this tight-knit community for the shocking murders that they discover in this house on King Road.
A murder mystery in Idaho. 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in their off-campus apartment. It's now being investigated as a homicide.
We all underestimated how interested the rest of the nation and the world would be in this case. Nobody was prepared.
His roommate on scene stated something about a male being in the room with them, trying to get further.
You may think you've heard this story, but tonight we'll take you inside the investigation. We'll show you body camera video from the officer who first responded to the scene, and then the frantic moments that one of the surviving roommates recounts a man in a mask inside the house.
I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he's wearing a full black outfit. And he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth.
You'll hear from the friends who were on the scene that morning even before police arrived.
As soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
And then what happened next?
I went into the house.
I think I walked just right in the door when Hunter already was like, everybody get out. And then he was like, somebody call 911.
And you'll hear from investigators who launched a nationwide manhunt to unmask and arrest the killer, who was found thousands of miles away from the crime scene. You interviewed Brian Kohberger.
Yes. He would try to go and ask, well, why are you guys really here? And we said, well, I feel like you probably know why we're here.
But this all began in 2022. It was the start of a new school year, a time of anticipation, hope, promise.
Coming back to school at the University of Idaho really starts in the middle of August. You're packing up your car, it's filled to the brim. You can fit your entire life into a couple of boxes in the back of a sedan. What a time.
Moscow at the beginning of the semester was definitely a very happy place, and like you step on campus and it's like, okay, this feels right, this feels good to be here.
Everyone's really excited. The new people, the new classes, things we can do, people to meet.
You know, you raise your kids and you just wonder, at what point are they gonna kind of feel like they're independent enough to kind of fly out of the nest, I guess, if you will. It's a cliche, but...
Starting to adult.
Yeah, starting to,
Among the students arriving here are 21-year-old seniors, 𝐄𝐏𝐿 Gonzalez and Madison Mogan, along with Xana Kernodle, a 20-year-old junior, and 19-year-old sophomore, Ethan Chapin. 4 students just starting out, not knowing that soon their lives would violently collide with a PhD student in criminology at another university just across the state line.
So on November 12th is when that iconic photo is taken, the last known photo of the 4 victims all together with their roommates Bethany and Dylan. All 6 of them before their big night on game day. They've had so many Saturday nights just like this. There was nothing out of the ordinary about this Saturday night in Moscow. Or so they thought.
Hours later, friends make a horrific discovery.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something's happening in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
What unfolds next is the stuff of nightmares.
We saw it on our phones before they told us directly. It was like, what, quadruple homicide?
We're calling Kaylee, it's going to voicemail. We're calling Maddie, she's not picking up. And in our minds, it wouldn't have been Kaylee and Maddie both. So I think that my mind just immediately went to like, nope, nope, nope.
The most important thing to me was who did this, why did they do it? This is Moscow.
It doesn't take very long before state police, then the FBI, all join the search for this killer.
We realized that there was a security camera right next door to our residence. Once we had that, we quickly realized that we had this white vehicle, and so that was the introduction of the white Elantra for us.
We don't know when this person's going to strike again, if they're going to strike again, and the pressure on us to solve alone, our own internal pressure, was huge, and at the same time you've got the public pressure to find the perpetrator.
There's a crush of media. It overwhelms the tiny town of Moscow, along with the lives of everyone touched by these shocking murders.
There were, YouTubers and TikTokers outside the house, that want to live stream at our front door, and then someone comes up, like, oh, hey, yeah, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? Like, dude, get out of our face.
It just went absolutely insane, but that's how the world is now, so.
Just trying to get through the days is really all I was doing. You don't feel safe in any situation like that for months. There's no feeling secure or safe.
I mean, after the first couple of weeks, we're like, this guy's gonna get away with this.
But then, nearly 7 weeks after the murders, finally an arrest.
And we want to get right to our breaking news. A specialized team of state troopers and federal agents taking Brian Kohberger into custody early Friday morning.
My mom just came into my room and she's like, hey, they got him. They caught him.
I mean, my first thought was, who is that? I have no clue who you are.
It was really shocking to learn he was a WSU student who had moved out to Washington and Pullman that summer to study at Washington State University. He was pursuing a PhD in criminology and justice.
For the first time, you'll see some of the hundreds of photos released by authorities just this week. They offer a glimpse into the secret life of Brian Kohberger, and you'll hear what investigators learned from analyzing his digital life.
He was a loner, no friends, no one really except for his parents. He called them mother and father, even through text message.
He didn't take a selfie to send it to someone else. It was very vain. It was very much just him recording himself for that purpose only.
But first tonight, we want you to get to know Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, who they were, how they lived their lives. And you'll hear how investigators say Kohberger planned meticulously to end it all.
Dylan had opened her door, and as she looked out, saw an individual in all dark clothing.
Then she thought she heard a male voice say, "I'm here to help you."
And the crucial mistake he made that led authorities right to his doorstep.
Boom, and now we have something in this house from the killer.
That was definitely the first aha moment.
Greek life at U of I is pretty tight-knit. We all do things together. The sorority and fraternities were their own little community. When I joined Pi Phi, I met Xana and I just felt welcomed in. You know how you meet some people and they're like, don't want to talk to you? She would talk your ear off. We had an entire friend group that we were always together. Xana, Maddie, Emily.
We were attached at the hip probably the first day that we met. We just clicked immediately.
I was like, oh yeah, these are my people. These are gonna be my people.
Hi, my name is Xana 𝐄𝐏𝐒. I'm a marketing major here at the University of Idaho.
20-year-old Xana 𝐄𝐏𝐒 loved the Pittsburgh Steelers. She loved her friends, and she highlights both in this video that's posted on her sister's social media.
And I really like just hanging out with my friends all the time and being super involved in school events.
Xana also really loved electronic dance music.
We called her DJ Zan because she was always like, oh, I'm gonna play music while we get ready. Like, I have a video where she's jumping on the couch and the MacBook's jumping with her. Oh, okay, your laptop.
I've never met someone like Xana before, ever. There was one night, it had snowed, and we see a sled, and we just went flying. Her smile was contagious.
I don't know that I ever saw Xana not happy. Cracking jokes nonstop.
If you ever had a bad day, maybe, you know, had a rough day, she'll make you happy. Like, somehow she'll make you laugh.
There'd be mornings I'd wake up and I would pull out of the oven a burnt pizza because she tried to make pizza the night before and fell asleep. Xana, did you try to make pizza last night? And she'd be like, I guess so.
In August of 2022, Xana moves into 1122 King Road with several friends. That includes Maddie Mogen, and together the two girls work as servers at the Moscow restaurant Mad Greek. Also spending a lot of time at their house was Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. He's a triplet, starting his second year at the University of Idaho with his sister Maisie and brother Hunter. The Chapin family invited me to their Idaho home. They opened up their photo albums, sharing memories of the son and brother they lost. Was it always just assumed that the three of you would go to the same college?
Yeah, pretty much. It would have been tough to split us up, I feel like. We've kind of done everything together. Why not do college together? And me and Ethan joined the same fraternity, 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 𝐄𝐏𝐒. I just kind of followed whatever he did. I knew wherever we went, we were going to have a good time no matter what.
I mean, he was kind of the dominant triplet, I would say. He just always had these two in tow.
The boys were always together, and we met them, and they were immediately funny, like great guys, and we were like, oh, you guys are being our friends.
Alrighty, my name is Ethan Chapin. I grew up playing basketball and a lot of sports. We were a pretty athletic family, so lots of sports, just kind of staying active, and yeah, no questions, just ready to get going.
We played every sport together. Every time we went in the car, it was together, partied together, just everything we did. There was never a dull moment. He always made things interesting and exciting.
Whenever there would be a party, we'd be singing country songs. Fall in Love by Bailey Zimmerman. That was one of the first songs that Ethan and I had memorized together.
I appreciated Ethan just for being just a goofball. You know, I mean, he was just funny as all hell.
We knew Ethan and Xana liked each other. Me and Emily were like, they're gonna be together. I know they like each other. And Xana was like, no, no, no. And then Xana ended up being like, oh, he's cute.
Tell me a little bit about watching Ethan and Xana.
They were both such similar people. Like, they were both very outgoing and just fun to be around. Anytime they walked in a room, it would just kind of like, everyone would be like, oh, Ethan and Xana. So it's kind of cool just to see them hang around. They always just kind of brought that same energy anywhere they went.
It was an energy they also brought into singing a 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 𝐄𝐏𝐒 song.
Beautiful, crazy. It was just an amazing weekend.
It's just after that weekend on November 7th that according to a post on her sister's Instagram, Xana turns in this English essay, and it talks about having just seen a show with a bunch of her closest friends. And she wrote, "It was amazing getting to experience one of my favorite songs with some of my best friends. That is one of the most important things you can do in life. Enjoy the ride, not the destination."
She really liked living in the moment. She always wanted to be doing something.
And as Xana and her friends are savoring that college life, a student just across the state line is having a very different experience.
Kohberger started to get a really bad reputation on campus. He was starting to really lose control of his life.
What do we know now about the criminology student whose work went beyond the classroom?
His eyes really opened up when he's talking about Jeffrey Dahmer or BTK or Ted Bundy.
"2,500 miles away from Moscow, Idaho, are the Pocono Mountains in northeastern Pennsylvania."
This is a rural community in Pennsylvania. It's really a lot of skiing and resort type communities. There's approximately 160,000 people living here, so it's a really backcountry sort of place in Pennsylvania.
It's also where a young Brian Kohberger grew up. He lived in this Monroe County home with his father, Michael, a maintenance worker, his mother, Mary Ann, who worked in education, and his two older sisters. What kind of household was Brian Kohberger raised in?
I would call his household an everyday, common household. His parents were extremely involved in his life. I think even over the course of the last 3 years, he spoke daily with them.
Tell me about education for Brian.
Brian went to Pleasant Valley School District. It's on the west end of the Poconos. He attended middle school there. He then moved on to the senior high school.
What kind of student was he?
I'd say, based upon what I've learned about the case, Brian was an average student in middle school, and I think he advanced while he got into high school.
On the surface, Brian appeared to have a pretty ordinary childhood, but when you talk to people who knew him, this quiet young man seemed to be struggling socially.
Brian was an overweight kid growing up. It's come to light that some people that were on the same bus as him said that people would throw stuff at him because of his weight. They would make fun of him.
We had issues being picked on when he was overweight, and as it progressed into high school, he got isolated from his friends that he had at that time.
Every information we had was socially awkward, very few relationships. You know, as far as never really had what I would consider to be a girlfriend.
I will say, though, that he was kind of skittish in a way. Like, he didn't really want to talk to people, not very social.
A lot of things changed in his life. He had gone through a transformation.
And are you talking about a physical transformation?
Both physically, mentally, and I think just generally in life. He was overweight and he had lost a considerable amount of weight heading into maybe his 9th grade or 10th grade year. When he started losing the weight and trimming down, he'd like to do boxing or he worked out at the local gym. We had a trainer that he grew very fond of.
And was that important in his life?
Based upon everything that I've learned, it was very important. It kept him losing the weight, steaming forward, better improving his life.
But that newer, thinner, more athletic version, Brian 2.0, if you will, also masked a deeper, much more troubling turn in his life.
We know from our investigation into him, and we had looked at his past, and we know that he had some struggles with drug use earlier in his life.
We find a history of an arrest in 2014. So of that history of arrest, we can get police reports. And part of the thing that came out of the police report said that there was a heroin addiction at the time.
According to police reports that were reviewed by ABC News, in February of 2014, Brian Kohberger had recently exited a rehab center and rejoined his family. And while he's home from rehab, Brian took his sister's iPhone.
He called me to come pick him up, and he wanted to sell a phone.
In July of 2023, I spoke with a former classmate of Kohberger's, and he says he was unwittingly roped in to help Kohberger. At his request, we're only using his first name.
So you're saying that you were leaving a party and he called you?
Yeah, he called me to come pick him up and to go, like, sell a phone somewhere, and I was just like, okay.
There's documents that ABC, myself included, have seen that show he stole his sister's phone.
Oh, I didn't even know all that.
So you thought he was trying to sell his own phone?
Yeah.
And at this time, did you know he had just gotten out of rehab?
That I did not know either.
Why do you think he was trying to sell that phone?
Oh, we were trying to get something with it. That was the goal for sure.
His father turned him in because at that point they were kind of at their wits' end for dealing with the substance abuse addiction.
Those same police reports, again reviewed by ABC News, confirm that Kohberger was charged with misdemeanor theft, but local officials told us that he didn't serve any jail time. And what about the family dynamics at that time?
I think the family supported him throughout the entire process. His family would say that they believed him to be sober ever since high school. Obviously, that evolution led to him getting higher education, doing better in schooling, focused more on something that he really wanted to do, which was criminology. When he graduated high school, I think he actually got a security job right out of high school working for Pleasant Valley School District. He then transitioned after a year or two, and he did attend Northampton County Community College, where his interest in criminology grew.
So he goes to Northampton Community College, and then from there goes to DeSales?
He goes to DeSales University to finish his degree, which this is an individual that appeared to be highly intelligent and turned his life around.
According to a pretrial motion that was submitted by defense attorneys, the doctors had recently diagnosed Kohberger as being on the autism spectrum, along with OCD. And in the filing, they also state Mr. Kohberger has met the criteria for this diagnosis since childhood. Brian's defense team said that he suffered from autism spectrum disorder. Is that something the family thought he also suffered from?
I don't know if the family thought that he suffered from a disorder.
So what provokes a person who appears to have overcome a difficult adolescence to then murder 4 people? And how did his life take a turn when Kohberger left Pennsylvania to pursue his PhD at Washington State University? Professor said if we give him a PhD, we're going to end up seeing on the news that he's committing some kind of crime.
We all probably wish we had a friend like Maddie and Kaylee were to each other.
In August of 2022, 5 young women, including 𝐄𝐏𝐿 Gonzalez and Madison Mogen, all move into a house together. It's just off campus, right here on King Road.
Kaylee and Maddie met in 6th grade, and they were always at each other's house or at Kaylee's sister's house.
They were more than best friends. They were even more than sisters. They were absolutely each other's everything through thick and thin.
So that's Maddie at Christmas when she was just little. She looked so excited. Maddie May, we called her. She was our first and only child that we ever had. And she was such a happy baby, just super easy and fun and smart, and it was just the joy of all of our lives.
Maddie's dad, Ben, and her mom, Karen, divorced when Maddie was really little. Karen then married Scott Laramie, who raised and loved Maddie as his own. And together they appear in the Prime Video docuseries One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
Maddie was Karen's mini-me. They looked alike and they acted alike and everything. For a long time, she just called me Scotty, you know. And then when she got older, it just made me feel so proud to be called Dad.
I was a very young mother. I was 22. So I was always so protective of Madison. This beautiful, peaceful little girl. I'd never let Maddie cry. Like, never.
Kaylee is the daughter of Steve and Christy Gonzalez. She's the middle child of 5 kids, including her older sister, Olivia, and they grew up together near Coeur d'Alene.
I remember the day Kaylee was born. I was about 4.5 years older than Kaylee. They complemented each other.
You wouldn't see Kaylee without Madison. You wouldn't see Madison without Kaylee. My name is Donna Staub. I'm an English teacher at Lake City High School, and I had Kaylee and Madison in an English class when they were juniors in 2017. So it was probably my second class of the day, if I remember correctly. And these 2 girls walked in just talking and laughing, life of the party.
Her mom made it a point too that she was like, I just want her to have one friend that she can depend on. I don't care about her being super popular. She's just, if this could be the friend, and it just worked out that way.
So then when college comes, they were like, we're gonna go to college together.
During high school, they mentioned it early on. They were going to go off to college together. That was their plan.
Living near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, they were just about 85 miles or so from the University of Idaho campus. It's not until 2022 that Kaylee and Maddie live together. They move into that house on King Road with their friends.
Kaylee and Maddie were always at each other's houses, but this was the first time they'd really gotten to live together and be roommates for real.
That was definitely just a house where we all got to hang out and feel welcome. And, you know, we would have parties.
Everyone who lived there just liked to have a good time, and so they'd always invite people over. That usually turned into some sort of social gathering, maybe a party. Yeah. But, I mean, it was always people that everyone knew, so everyone could just go there and feel safe.
We were college kids. You're still innocent. You're like, nah, nothing's gonna happen.
By their senior year, Maddie and Kaylee were looking forward to graduation, starting their next chapter.
In mid-November in Moscow, it starts to get really cold. It's getting dark earlier. There's a chill in the air.
And soon, the lives of everyone in that house would be forever linked by tragedy. A tragedy no one could have ever imagined.
Once the cops showed up and the ambulance arrived, we all were, where's Kaylee and Maddie? Where's Kaylee and Maddie? We were calling them, we were texting them, we were, you know, no answers.
In May of 2022, 27-year-old Brian Kohberger graduates from DeSales University. He's seen in this commencement video getting a master's degree in criminal justice.
My name is Josh Ferraro. I knew Brian Kohberger from our time at DeSales University. We were paired up for this long project. We were all picking partners, and he was someone who was still there. So I said, hey, do you want to be my partner? And yeah, that's how we met. He was like, yeah, you know, my mission is to like be a cop, something I want to do. But he didn't delve too much into his personal life. This guy's a lonely guy, keeping him himself.
I invited him to one of my parties one time, and he's like, no, I'm good, man. And I'm like, all right, the offer is there, but no problem. Like, it's just trying to be nice.
One of the classes the two men share as undergrads is psychological sleuthing, and it's taught by the renowned professor of forensic psychology, Dr. Catherine Ramsland.
My area of expertise is extreme offenders, serial killers, mass murderers, but primarily serial killers.
2020 spoke with Dr. Ramsland back in 2019 about her work studying the serial killer known as BTK.
I think BTK is a very useful example of somebody who can grow up in a fairly normal childhood and become a serial killer.
In that class, you study mass murderers, you study serial killers, and she really delves into the psyche of their mind. Bryan Kohberger was really invested in the class. He took really quick notes, and he'd ask a lot of questions. His eyes really opened up when he's asking a question or getting to the answer, talking about Jeffrey Dahmer or BTK or Ted Bundy. He was very proud of his intellect.
While at DeSales, Kohberger conducts a Reddit survey for an academic research project, looking to understand the mind of a criminal.
He put an online request to speak to convicted criminals to discuss the emotions they were feeling and decision-making that they went through when they were committing crimes. How did they choose their victims, all this stuff.
In June of 2022, Kohberger moves across the country to Pullman, Washington, pursuing a PhD in criminology at Washington State University.
The University of Idaho and Washington State University are located just 7 miles from each other. The student body are constantly traversing to come over to the different areas, whether it be for classes or social.
There's definitely a crossover with the two universities. We're all one big community.
At 27 years old, Kohberger has never lived on his own before, and he moves across the country and lives here in this off-campus apartment complex.
He spends the summer exploring the region, taking some of those selfies just released by authorities.
And making several trips across the state line into Moscow. His cell phone records would later show that his phone pinged off a tower in that area 23 times in the months before the murders. He even gets pulled over one night in August.
Hey there. I stopped you going a little fast.
He's accused of speeding on the Pullman-Moscow highway.
Were you wearing your seatbelt when I stopped you? No. That's no good.
Just being honest with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You guys are... There's absolutely no point not being honest.
After the officer tells Kohberger he's getting a $10 seatbelt citation, Kohberger has some questions for the officer.
I'm obviously an honest person, right? I told you I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. When people lie to you about that, say I lied to you about that, right? My own knowledge. You honestly go back and look at that?
Kohberger accepting the citation.
All right, have a good night.
Tell me what the internship was that Bryan Kohberger applied for.
So it was actually part of WSU's criminal justice PhD program, where the student would be embedded in the police department to conduct research.
How would you describe how he communicated with you over Zoom?
Just awkward, just a little bit socially inept, perhaps. I didn't feel he could develop rapport and trust with my staff. Didn't really speak in a fluid conversational manner. And so for those reasons, I didn't think he'd be a good fit for us.
But Kohberger does get a position as a teaching assistant at the university, which helps pay for his tuition.
He was the TA for my criminal justice 420 class, which was criminal procedures. He was a little bit more strict with his grading. He gave several comments of feedback, like saying, oh, well, this is a little bit too broad, this is not descriptive enough, stuff like that.
Bryan Kohberger was pretty quiet. He didn't really talk too much. He kind of didn't really look at us directly, and he just seemed really kind of awkward.
And outside of class, Kohberger doesn't appear to be very social.
He was a loner.
Jared and Heather Barnhart analyzed Kohberger's digital life, including his cell phone and computer records for investigators.
He had 18 total contacts in his phone. One person was labeled as maintenance and another was AT&T. There were no texts to friends. It was just his parents.
He called them mother and father, even through text message. He would say, "Mother, where is father? Why isn't father answering me?" And she would respond, "Your dad is in the garage, Brian, he's working." It was all mother and father, hours of talking, text messaging. And we found all those selfies.
Like very much staged selfies trying to catch himself in a certain manner. It's not weird that he was taking selfies. The weird part is that he never did something with it. He didn't take a selfie to send it to someone else.
As the semester progresses, instructors at WSU start to raise concerns about Kohberger's conduct in the program.
Kohberger started to get a really bad reputation on campus.
Sometime in November, I remember the professor saying, "Hi, so I'm switching some of my TAs." He didn't get any more in depth.
He didn't seem to respect female professors, was showing up late to class, having some weird social problems where like he would block doorways when students were trying to talk to him.
They felt uncomfortable around him. They felt that he would try to, at times, trap them.
And there were lots of allegations that he was bothering girls, and this is especially problematic when there's a power dynamic.
There was a common complaint of he's very controlling, that he's manipulative, that he treated women a certain way compared to men. Disrespect. He just had an odd, strange behavior.
The university was on to him. Professors said, we need to cut funding from this guy. If we give him a PhD, he's going to become a professor, and we're going to end up seeing on the news that he's stalking women or he's committing some kind of crime.
He received an email describing that he was on a performance improvement plan with the university in this role. It was somewhat satisfactory, but there were some problems.
WSU did not intend to have him back as a teaching assistant.
He was starting to really lose control of his life, kind of spinning out.
Away from home, isolated, Kohberger is about to turn his PhD work into reality. He goes from a student to a killer.
Is it somebody that trains and practices over and over and over and over again, and then at some point do they feel like they have to execute?
Like a sick way of carrying out his thesis.
Right.
Where's she at? Where's she at? Where at? We're on third floor, coming up.
Hunter Johnson came up to me and I was like, "Where's Ethan and Xana?" And he's like, "They're not here anymore." It's like, "What do you mean they're not here anymore?" He's like, "I think they were murdered last night."
He was like, "Yeah, all four." We were like, "What?" It just made no sense.
Now to the murders of those 4 college students from the University of Idaho.
And now, what happened minute by minute.
You go into Xana's room. What did you see?
Stabbing is close, personal, long-term. You've got to be committed.
The number of times that Kaylee was stabbed. There's no sugarcoating it.
The first person to find them.
As soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
And the survivor who saw the killer in the house.
The third time she opens her door, she sees a male figure.
I just shut the door and locked it because I didn't know what to do.
Now, just released inside his home and his mind.
He was on a website called Serial Killer Timelines, and he just went down this list and clicked one after another after another.
And the police body camera from the crime scene.
I think we have a homicide. Secure the outside first.
He made an absolutely critical mistake.
What was the target?
Just over the hill is the University of Idaho campus. This is Greek Row, the Sigma Chi house right there. And as you cross the street, you enter that off-campus housing. And this area in particular is really popular. Students sort of pass down the houses from generation to generation. And in August of 2022, this is where 5 young girls moved in together.
They're full of optimism, excited about life. And they're posting videos showing all of it online.
And I wake up and I see your name on my phone. It's the moments when I
We just called it the older girl's house. Maddie stayed there, and then Kaylee moved there. And then Xana moved there, and then Bethany Dylan moved there.
And the sixth housemate was Kaylee's golden doodle. His name was Murphy.
She was really excited to have the house dog, is what she called it.
And everything I like to do with my dog.
The King Road house was a 3-story white house, right in the middle of Party Central. The house is 3 levels. It has 6 bedrooms, 2 on each floor. Bethany's bedroom is on the 1st floor. Xana and Dylan's bedrooms are on the 2nd floor, along with the kitchen and the sliding glass door leading out to the porch. Kaylee and Madison's bedrooms are on the 3rd floor. And Ethan was over at the King Road house a lot.
It was always friends of Ethan that would go over, friends of Xana, friends of Kaylee and Maddie. There was never anybody who shouldn't have been there.
People didn't really have any interest in going into houses where they didn't know anybody. It was a party neighborhood. Just in the sense that, like, you walked over to that area on Friday and Saturday nights, listening for where people might be at, and then you see someone you know, you wander over.
It's Saturday, November 12th. It's the last home game for the University of Idaho Vandals. Celebration is in the air. Students start tailgating early.
We had a lot of pre-games before the football games. If the game was early, we would try and wake up early. Xana would usually be FaceTiming me, trying to wake me up, be like, hurry up, like, let's go.
I had gotten a text from Ethan being like, why aren't you here yet? So I was like, okay, I won't keep you waiting any longer.
The house on King, it was the cutest place to take pictures. Like, you could go on the 3rd floor patio.
That patio was the scene of so many happy moments. Maddie's mom, Karen Laramie, shared those moments in the Prime Video docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
Kaylee texted me with the picture of Maddie on her shoulders, just loving this amazing happy moment. I called Maddie and she put me on FaceTime. And then I was having a conversation with all of them.
𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 Gonzalez posted this last photo to Instagram, writing, "One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day."
We were with our whole friend group, which was a normal weekend for us, just hanging out with our friends. And then from there, we all kind of split off.
And we were like, bye, I love you. Gave each other a hug.
The triplets, they went to Maisie's formal. I think Xana just waited for Ethan, probably.
Ethan spent the beginning part of that night at the Betty's Ball with his sister. From there, he left with me back to Sigma Chi.
The party continued after the formal, and Ethan really wanted you to come party.
So he started off by texting me, I think he said, "Dog, come hang out. We all want you here." And was like spam texting me, and I said, "I'm going to bed," I think. It was like 9, or "I'm not gonna go." And then he said, "Love you." And I didn't even respond to that. I think I was asleep by then.
And the "I love you" kind of stood out, though.
Well, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Because you didn't just normally text that to each other.
After the game, Kaylee and Maddie head down to the Corner Club. It's a big hangout for college students. They're having some drinks, hanging out with friends, and then they decide they need a snack, so they head downtown and they order mac and cheese from the grub truck.
We live in this world right now where there are cameras everywhere. So we know that Kaylee and Maddie were at the food truck around 1:30 in the morning.
Maddie was running around in that huge jacket, hugging people. Kaylee was just on her phone, just laughing at Maddie. And she was just smiling, and they were happy. They were so happy.
Maddie and Kaylee get a ride back to the King Road house using a rideshare.
And by 2 a.m., everyone's home. They're settling in for the night.
It's like a sleepover. Kaylee sleeps in Maddie's bed, just like they've done since they were kids.
But Xana stays up.
Xana orders DoorDash, and it gets delivered to the King Road house a little after 4 a.m.
She takes it up to the kitchen, puts some of her food onto a plate, and she's eating that in her bedroom. She's on social media, the latest of 4/12, and just shortly after that.
Everything seemed so normal in that home on King Road. But by the next morning, nothing would ever be the same.
Emily got a call from Dylan around 11-ish. That's when I felt like I needed to go over.
And then what happened next?
I went into the house.
911 location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening. Something's happening in our house. We don't know what.
We were complete panic.
This is real.
By 2 a.m., all the roommates are back home and settling in for the night. Police say around 3 a.m., shortly after leaving his apartment and heading towards Moscow, Brian Kohberger turns his cell phone off.
We can see Kohberger's car on footage captured by a surveillance camera that was at the neighbor's house. He keeps circling the area. He's making multiple passes at the house.
We believe that Brian Kohberger entered the house sometime shortly after he's last seen on the video, somewhere probably around 4:10 a.m.
Police say Kohberger entered through a sliding glass door in the back of the house. Investigators believe Xana was in her room with her boyfriend Ethan asleep in her bed, Dylan's across the hall, Bethany downstairs, and on the 3rd floor, Kaylee and Maddie had fallen asleep together in Maddie's room.
Xana was up. We see activity from her watch of just steps that were taken. We know that she's eating. She's on social media at 4:12 and just shortly after that.
After entering the house, investigators believe Kohberger walked through the kitchen and went upstairs to the 3rd floor, where he found Kaylee and Maddie together, asleep.
Kaylee and Maddie were both killed very quickly, but they were stabbed repeatedly many times.
Stabbing is close, personal, long-term, violent action. You've got to be committed to do a homicide.
What investigators think happened is that Xana heard the commotion.
At some point, Xana comes, we believe, up the stairs. Brian Kohberger either hears something or he hears the stairs. Something alerts him and takes him away from what he's doing in that bedroom.
Investigators say Xana turned and ran, and that Kohberger followed, chasing her downstairs to her bedroom.
Xana, after that initial contact in the doorway, she's fighting him. We know that because she has defensive wounds all over herself. She fought like hell. And we think at that point, he realizes that there's a 4th person, and that's Ethan that's in the bed. So he reaches over and stabs Ethan. It killed Ethan instantly. He continues to fight with Xana and ends up on the floor, where ultimately he does finally kill her.
At 4:17 a.m., less than 10 minutes after investigators believe Brian Kohberger entered the house, the neighbor's surveillance camera captures what police describe as a loud thud, the sound of a whimper, and a dog barking. That camera is just about 50 feet from Xana's bedroom.
In Xana's room, some things were pushed around, were moved around, and I think that's something that you're probably hearing on the video.
Because she was fighting.
Right.
After Kohberger walks out of Xana's room, he then comes face to face with another one of her roommates. It's Dylan.
Dylan was awakened by just some type of noises. Initially, she thought it was the dog, Murphy.
Then she thought she heard a male voice say, "I'm here to help you."
We believe that is Brian Kohberger saying that to Xana. He's doing something to try to calm her, to make her relax of who he is and why he's in this residence. Dylan, as she had overheard multiple things throughout this time period, she had opened her door a couple different times.
The third time she opens her door, she sees a male figure.
The description was a thin, tall individual wearing a mask, almost described as a basketball player physique and bushy eyebrows.
She momentarily saw him, and then he turned and he left the residence.
He knows people were awake, probably believing at some point somebody called the police. I've got to get out of here. The fight with Anna could have just wiped him. We'll never know what made him pass that door up and head out.
After that, Dylan is terrified. She starts texting Bethany, her roommate. Did you hear that? I'm trying to call the other roommates. They're not answering.
You've got somebody who had been drinking, was in and out of slumber, and somebody walks through in the middle of the night and still wonders in her own mind, did she see it or did she dream it?
She makes a mad dash for Bethany's room and decides to run downstairs and spend the rest of the night with Bethany.
As night turns into day, everything in Moscow is still quiet. But investigators say that Brian Kohberger is awake. He's active. That includes spending more than an hour and a half on the phone with his mom and posing for a selfie, giving a thumbs up. Police say just after 9 a.m., Kohberger is on the move and he's headed back to 1122 King Road.
He's not seen anything on the news. I think he certainly would expect this is going to be everywhere immediately. So I think that his curiosity has absolutely gotten to him. And so he goes back to the area, but for all of his training, for all of his things that he's studied, crime scene and serial killers, PhD program for criminology, he made an absolutely critical mistake in that house that night.
I woke up in the morning, just kind of like chill Sunday. Emily and Hunter came and were hanging out in my bed with me. And then Dylan called Emily and asked us all to come over.
I could overhear what was going on. She sounded freaked out. I just had a gut feeling, and something in me told me that I need to just go. As soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
I walked just right in the door when Hunter already went up. And then he was like, okay, everybody get out.
Hunter finds Xana and Ethan murdered, but he decides to shield his friends from that reality. And he tells them only that someone inside is unconscious and to call 911.
911 location of your emergency. Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what. Dispatching Moscow Law ambulance for unconsciousness, 1122 King Road.
Where's she at? Where's she at?
Yes.
Where at? Up here?
Up here. I checked to see if she was breathing.
Okay, do that.
13, I think we have a homicide.
I don't think any of us were prepared for that it's 4 young, completely innocent kids.
Two college-age people appearing both to be deceased. Lots of blood.
Police department. We're on 3rd floor. Coming up. We got another.
We have 2 additional deceased on the 3rd floor.
Secure the outside first. So the front door. There's a back entry. I was going to start taping it all off. Okay. Here. Can you guys go over to the dumpster for me, please?
We were just placed on the street to sit down and wait. We were all cold. We were all scared. Our brains just started to continue to spiral.
I kept calling her name and she wouldn't answer, and I saw the guy.
Outside, police speak to Dylan. She's distraught. She's the roommate who told police she saw a masked man in the house that night.
Describe the guy that you saw.
He's a little bit taller than me. I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit. And he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. And he didn't say anything to me, like, at all. I just shut the door and locked it because I didn't know what to do. And I think he went out, like, the side door, the sliding door in the kitchen that goes out to the backyard.
We had footprints coming out the back and open door.
When we got there, that sliding glass door was left halfway open.
You go into Xana's room. What did you see?
Xana was there. She was laying on the floor. And Ethan was on the bed.
I got woken up by my friend. We'd partied pretty hard the night before. He's like, there's a ton of cops over at Xana's house. I walked over there. I didn't see Ethan outside, so I figured he was inside helping whoever needed to be helped.
Okay, you mind hanging out here, please?
Hunter Johnson came up to me and I was like, where's Ethan and Xana? And he's like, they're not here anymore. I was like, what do you mean they're not here anymore? He's like, I think they were murdered last night.
And you're at the grocery
I was
store.
at the grocery store. And I was talking to a friend.
Fine.
It's okay. And my phone kept ringing, and it was Hunter on the other end. And he just said he's not here, and he kept repeating it. And so I was like, well, go get him, go find him. And he just kept saying it. And he goes, no, Mom, you don't understand. Ethan and Xana are not on this earth anymore. I just was like, just no way. And I drove down the road and called Jim, and you know, it makes it real when you have to repeat it.
It drives me crazy because I've always wanted to protect my family. And there's really nothing there that I could have done. Instantly, he was taken.
We still didn't know where Kaylee and Maddie were. We didn't know where Murphy was. And then U of I sent the homicide text.
Throughout the day, the University of Idaho sent campus-wide text messages with updates on the investigation about a homicide and an unknown suspect. But at 5:17 p.m., students get a text message that says, for the first time, 4 people have been killed.
That was the moment that we knew where Kaylee and Maddie were.
What time do you think you fell asleep?
The 2 surviving roommates, Dylan and Bethany, have received a lot of criticism for not calling 911 immediately on the night of the murders. But they both told police they weren't certain that what Dylan thought she saw was real.
I told her, I need to come to your room, because she was the only one that was answering me, so I just ran down there, and for a second I stopped, and I saw Xana passed out, and I thought maybe she was just like sleeping or something. I didn't think anything, because I was so out of it, and we just fell asleep, and then we woke up this morning, and no one was answering.
We understand the disbelief that she's going through. What 19-year-old kid is going to come up with and assume what actually happened was happening?
Investigators now know they're a few hours behind the killer. But as they walk into Maddie's 3rd-floor bedroom, police get their first big break.
The comforter's over, the girls take the comforter off. Lo and behold, there's a knife sheath laying right there.
They find a sheath for a K-bar style knife. There's no murder weapon, but the sheath is there.
That was definitely the first aha moment.
We have something in this house from the killer.
Four murdered students, a panicked campus, and now the world's eyes on Moscow, Idaho.
Now to the murders of those 4 college students from the University of Idaho.
as investigators try to figure out what happened in that house on King Road.
We've told the public very clearly from the beginning that we believe it was a targeted attack.
They said, oh, this was a targeted attack, nothing to worry about. And my first question was, but you don't have anybody. That means there's somebody still out there. How could we not worry?
We don't want to put our investigation in jeopardy by releasing what we have.
The investigation grew massively. We were trying to get every piece of video footage from that day, from every surveillance camera in town, captured from that night.
Right across the street from Xana's bedroom is a house. They have surveillance footage of a white Hyundai Elantra circling the house in the early morning hours of November 13th.
We quickly realized that we had this white vehicle during this time leaving at a very fast, high rate of speed.
You can see it is burning out of that neighborhood. So we believed at that point this was the vehicle of our subject. So we narrowed it down to a 2011 to 2016 Elantra. Believe it or not, when we ran Idaho registrations and just looking local, we had over 25,000.
The search to track down that car has no limits.
We are just wanting to talk to the individuals who are in that vehicle.
Investigators also have a crucial piece of evidence found at the crime scene, left behind by the killer. A sheath for a K-bar knife.
This knife sheath was found under Maddie's body in the bed.
Immediately it stood out because it was in stark contrast to the entire house.
About 4 days in, the lab came back and said they had a sole source male DNA found on the button of the knife sheath, but there was no matches in CODIS for that DNA.
Once we know we had the DNA from the sheath, then we flew that to Othram, and then they started to develop and work their part of it.
Othram is a company in which we build technology to basically bring certainty to investigations. Forensic genetic genealogy is a tool that we use to identify someone or find the nearest relative. So I got a call and I was asked, what is the fastest that we could produce a result? Kristen was adamant that we get these folks answers.
I can't imagine that being my child and knowing that there's someone out there that could help. We have to help. How fast can we get this DNA?
It was a sergeant from the Moscow Police Department who got on a plane in Boise. And they flew directly to Texas and hand-delivered it to Othram.
They brought us down a tube of DNA that was remaining from that knife sheath.
That DNA extract contained a lot of DNA. It was not a trace amount of DNA. It was 500 times more DNA than we generally see in our low quantity DNA cases.
The technology at Othram is then able to build a profile that's uploaded to genealogy databases, which search for people who are connected to that unknown DNA.
In this particular case, there was a unique biogeographical ancestry that allowed us to kind of narrow the search even early on. And what we found is that there was a multi-generational American family based in Pennsylvania, genetic relatives that were related to the person we were looking for.
While there's a massive, multifaceted investigation working to find him, Ryan Kohberger leaves Washington and heads home to Pennsylvania for winter break. He drives across the country with his father in that white Hyundai Elantra.
Hello, how you doing? How y'all doing today?
So it's a long trip from Moscow, Idaho, all the way to Pennsylvania. Kohberger's pulled over twice during this time.
We right up on the back end of that van, pulled you over for tailgating. So y'all work at the university there? I actually do work there.
And he's pulled over for following a vehicle too closely, both times.
By the time the Kohbergers arrived back in Pennsylvania, the FBI had taken over that genetic genealogy search from Othram. And just over a month after the murders, investigators get a name.
On December 19th, the investigative genealogy team leader calls in and he says, hey, Darren, he goes, I have a first name for you. It's Brian. And he goes, hey, we also have a last name for you, Kohberger. And he drives a white Hyundai Elantra.
Once we had his name at that point, immediately we knew that he was in Pennsylvania.
When did the surveillance on him start?
Immediately.
He only left the house 3 times, and he was noticed to be wearing rubber gloves all the times he had left the house.
They need a way to test that DNA, so they pull the trash.
The agent on scene had made contact with the trash company to be able to ride the truck to collect the trash. They sort anything that could contain DNA. They found an item in the trash that had male DNA that comes back and says, we have DNA in this trash that is the father of the DNA left on the knife sheath.
Once we had the DNA paternity match from the trash pull.
From a Q-tip specifically?
Yeah, we knew at that point that we had the person whose DNA was on that sheath.
At that point, you have what you need to get an arrest warrant for Brian Kohberger.
And news of an arrest spreads fast.
The big story on Action News tonight is a major break in the murder of 4 Idaho college students.
People in this sleepy Poconos community are stunned.
We got live feed. We saw the armored vehicles roll in, them make entry, and we get the call out in custody.
And we want to get right to our breaking news as we come on the air. The arrest of a 28-year-old man in Pennsylvania in connection with the brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Nearly 7 weeks after the brutal murders, an arrest is finally made.
Pennsylvania State Police make that arrest. We've got live feed coming from the helicopter from Pennsylvania State Police. We're getting constantly updated on what's going on, telling us, yes, they've got Brian in the house. We saw the armored vehicles roll in, them make entry, and we get the call out in custody.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
Kohberger faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary.
Authorities have not revealed a possible motive just yet. People in this sleepy Poconos community are stunned that one of their own has been arrested in connection with this grisly crime.
Agents from the Scranton office of the FBI, after the arrest, interviewed Brian's parents. They were, aghast. We do know there was conversation among the family about, hey, Brian does drive a car like that. Brian, do you think, and it was immediately quashed. There's no way Brian could do this, no way. Nobody can comprehend that their child is capable of something like this.
What was his reaction to the national media attention?
He was very surprised, actually. He didn't realize that it would garner national media news, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, it actually was. It was surprising because he inquired as to which outlets were actually circling.
Police department, search warrant, come to the door.
After the arrest, police in Washington searched Kohberger's apartment. And in these just-released photos, you can see the Spartan place he left behind. One of the few personal items they found is a birthday card from his parents.
He was taken back to the Pennsylvania State Police barracks immediately upon being arrested and had given what turned out to be about a 2.5, 3-hour statement. It was a significantly long time that he interviewed until he asked for an attorney.
What did he tell you about that interview?
He was very limited. I didn't want to know a lot about the case because he was going to have an attorney that would represent him on the murder charges. I want to make sure he's aware of how the process is going to play out. I want to make sure he understands that the death penalty may be considered in the case.
You thought right away it would be a death penalty case?
Oh, absolutely. I had zero doubt.
Brian Kohberger agreed to be extradited, and he was flown across the country to the Moscow Pullman Airport and then brought here to the Latah County Jail to face murder charges while the world watched on.
When they brought him off the plane, people were like, we got him. Thank God he wasn't a local. He wasn't one of us.
Kohberger's attorneys enter a not guilty plea for him, insisting that he's innocent. But prosecutors decide to pursue the death penalty. And as they prepare for trial, they dig into every part of Kohberger's life, particularly his digital life, sifting through his Amazon purchase history that showed he bought a K-bar knife and sharpener back in Pennsylvania. And they look at his cell phone and computer searches right up until the days before his arrest.
On Christmas night, the 11 o'clock hour heading into the very early morning of the 26th, he was on a rudimentary website called Serial Killer Timelines, just a list of hyperlinked names. And he just went down this list and clicked one after another for like 2 hours. December 27th, there's some sort of a show that he watched. It's a YouTube, and it's Ted Bundy sort of standing facing forward with a hood pulled up and over the front, and on 12/29, just 2 days later, he's taking a picture of himself looking like Ted Bundy.
And although investigators weren't able to make a direct link between Bryan Kohberger and any of the victims, those digital forensic experts did find something interesting on his phone.
The FBI gave us keywords and said, okay, search for these things. We needed victim names, we needed what did they call their Wi-Fi. So all these things, we searched for it. And I remember saying to Jared, I have a hit for Mad Greek.
Remember, Mad Greek is that Moscow restaurant where Maddie and Xana both worked.
This search for Mad Greek, however he arrived at it, was done through the Google Maps app.
What we can say is that Mad Greek was presented to him on his phone. It doesn't necessarily draw a hard line to these victims.
Now to the sudden and stunning turn in the Idaho College murders case. After insisting his innocence for nearly 3 years, defendant Bryan Kohberger today pleading guilty to fatally stabbing 4 students.
Kohberger had maintained his innocence the entire time, but he decided to change his plea from innocent to guilty. That was huge.
And as part of that plea deal, prosecutors agree to take the death penalty off the table.
We got what we wanted, and we got what the law...
When you say we got what we wanted, though, that we does not include all of the victims' families. There are victims' families that have been very public about wanting more, perhaps a taped confession, the location of the murder weapon. You didn't feel like you could have asked for those things?
There was no legal way we could have compelled those. And quite frankly, there's nothing that he could have said that I think would have been credible or believable. And the minimizing and the lies that would have even been more damaging and frustrating to everybody.
Be seated, thank you.
Without a trial, Kohberger moves right to a sentencing hearing, and the loved ones for the victims finally get their own day in court.
All right, so with that, let's start with then impact statements.
I just wanted to reclaim their power. The truth is, as dumb as they come, sloppy, weak, dirty.
Bryan Kohberger pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. But he still has to sit and face the families of his victims.
All right, so with that, let's start with then impact statements.
The first statement comes from one of the 2 surviving roommates, Bethany Funk. She's unable to be in the courtroom herself, so her statement is read by her friend and also one of the first people to arrive at the house that day, Emily Allant.
I was so frantic that morning and scared to death, not knowing what had happened. And when I made the 911 call, I couldn't even get out the words. And from then on, I don't remember a thing. I wish more than anything I could hug them one last time. And I wish I could tell them how much I love them. I will keep living for them as long as I am lucky enough to still be here.
And then it's the second surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen.
Dylan, just take your time, all right?
I was barely 19 when he did this. I was forced to learn how to survive the unimaginable. I couldn't be alone. And then there are the panic attacks. The kind that slam into me like a tsunami out of nowhere. I can't breathe.
I can't think. I can't stop shaking. Living is how I honor them. Speaking today is to help me find some sort of justice for them. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice.
One after another, family members described the loved ones they lost. And notably, among them is Kaylee's sister, Olivia Gonzalez.
My sister Kaylee and her best friend Maddie were not yours to take. They were not yours to study, to stalk, or to silence.
The whole time, I just wanted to reclaim their power, reclaim their voice, especially in a way that, you know, really was the end to this chapter.
You got under his skin?
Absolutely.
Disappointments like you thrive on pain, on fear, and on the illusion of power. The truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty.
Did you say everything that you wanted to say?
For the most part, yes. I didn't want to break eye contact. So that gaze was so intense, and it really did feel like a standoff.
You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
The Chapin family was not at the sentencing. They chose instead to honor Ethan privately.
Hi!
The Chapins recently got to visit that DNA lab that played such a crucial role in solving this case. It came after a chance meeting a few years back.
This stranger, who I did not know, came up and she just wrapped her arms around me and hugged me. And she just said, "We are working on your case and you don't have to worry.
Everything will be okay.
Everything's going to be okay. That there will be justice in the outcome."
I mean, that was what I was trying to relay.
Right. And that's how it felt. Jim and I would rely on that information to, you know, in your toughest days, you were like, "Kristen told us not to worry." And we use that.
The Chapins now want to help advocate for the work being done at this lab.
Maybe our family could become a face for the victim side of what these people do. If we can make a positive impact for the future on some level, it's important.
I miss him every day. When you lose your son at 20, it's a different loss. And I miss him every single day.
Alrighty. It's nice that, you know, when we have so many different photographs and videos, and we can still hear their voices. They were some really, really cool people.
It helps to remember them and not what happened to them.
Hopefully one day they're just seen as who they are and not what happened to them.
And just as college is starting again, there's now a memorial garden at the University of Idaho with a plaque bearing the name of each of the 4 victims.
A touching tribute. As for Brian Kohberger, David, he received 4 life sentences, 1 for each of his victims and an additional 10 years for burglary. As part of that plea deal, he waived his right to an appeal. That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News.